Chapter 25. The ground floor location of the palliative care ward had the advantage of being more accessible to the hospital grounds. The volunteers from palliative care had supplied Julia with a brand new wheelchair, and she took control of the opportunity to use it to maximum capacity. Restless in her clinical world, Julia would ask to be pushed out to the grounds. It had been a real mission upstairs in surgical, but it was easily accomplished from the ground floor. She would ask to be parked on top of the no smoking sign, which was clearly painted on the pavement, knowing full well that I was not one to disobey such a directive. Lighting up a cigarette for both of us, making me choose between right and wrong, and laughing at my discomfort. It was a busy space, full of the comings and goings of visitors to the hospital and to the emergency ward, full of life and all the characters it brought. She would strike up a conversation with anyone who had the time, but mostly she sought the company of those whose body language indicated a need for a cheery word. We listened one day to a tale of woe from a dissipated character, recovering from a bender and in need of a cigarette, which she supplied. She turned to Katrina and I as he departed for the bus stop, and with sadness said, "I will miss the people in the street." It was a new world, that pavement. On one occasion we were sheltering from the sun in the bus shelter, when we had the pleasure of an encounter with a man who was the uncle of a close friend. The twins had known him since childhood. He was a well-known character in the town, distinctive because his only mode of transport was his motorised scooter. A lifetime of confinement to a chair and medical emergencies had not slowed him down in the least. She greeted him with a laid-back smile and asked if he'd heard the news, and he confirmed that he had. "How much for one of those?" she inquired, indicating his scooter. It was indeed the Rolls-Royce of medical transport, and came priced accordingly. "You get one second-hand," he suggested. But she dismissed the idea, because there would not be enough time to make full use of it. They laughed together, and she pointed out that the morphine was difficult to manage, but he encouraged her to take whatever she needed and rode off, smiling with the delight of her. The trip back from the pavement to palliative care took us past the hospital gift shop, a treasure trove that Julia could not resist. There were always more presents that she needed to buy for visitors. Everyone likes a present, she reasoned, storing them up to present to the appropriate receiver. She brought a green glass elephant with silver inside and presented it to me, but I pointed it out that she had already given me one way back when the journey began. She was undisturbed by her mistake and rectified the matter by promising to pass it on to Annie. But Katrina was distraught, believing that her sister was losing her mind. I argued it was not the case at all, just a momentary lapse of her memory. I photographed my collection of elephants and took them in for Julia to view, and she remembered immediately where they had all been purchased and approved their new setting. An interest still in all the worldly things with which we fill our minds. However, not all the trips to the outside world were full of distractions. We always offered her the choice, and sometimes as we wheeled her towards the entrance of the hospital, she chose to take the entrance that led through the back car park to the river. She was remote from its beauty, the river unscarred by buildings, nature rooting us into this earthly life, scarcely populated with the comings and goings of the everyday world. Emma and I took her there one day. She was stony-faced, lost in her own reflections. She directed a statement at me. "There's only one good thing about it all. I don't have to bury you," she said, little realising the pain for me in that thought. As we wheeled her back in, she continued, "I feel that all I have to do is get out of here, just make it home. But in my head I know that is not true."